90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. It becomes a podcast later on, available at all places you find podcasts, nccradio.com, Spotify, Odyssey.com, TuneIn.com, and iHeartRadio. The iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is award-winning sports writer and, yes, my brother, Tim Leonard, as we talk sports. Hello, brother. How are you?
I'm outstanding, brother. How about yourself?
I'm okay. I'm all a little down about what happened this past weekend with the Mets. You know, a lot of Met fans get suicidal.
Well, let's not overstate the case, bro. Come on.
Well, you know what I did? I actually took myself off some Facebook pages concerning the Mets because I just got sick of, I don't know, not just the level of complaints, the stupidity of the complaints. I just got sick of it. And that could be just the internet in general. But the Mets did not have a good weekend. They are now in third place, though only a half game out of second. But still, they are still in third place. The Yankees are in third place, but we're talking about an ascending team here. The Mets are a descending team. Mets have lost 7 out of the last 8. Yankees have won 10 out of the last 13 since the All-Star break. So
on a roll, brother. Yankees on a roll.
And the Red Sox, they're 3-10, brother?
3-10 in their last 13, brother. Red Sox fading quickly, fading like the Mets.
Yeah, but who's going to do worse, brother? That's the question.
What do you mean?
Well, who's going to be the worst team, Mets or the Red Sox?
The Mets. The Red Sox. The Red Sox are still 15 games over 500 or something. I forget what their record is, but the Red Sox have a giant head start in that department. That
is true, and the Mets. The NL East is the worst division right now. Now, do I think the Mets are over? No, I don't. Jacob deGrom has to come back first before I think it's over. But at the same time, this past week has not been good for the Mets. I mean, it's just a bad week.
Yeah, but this has been going on longer than a week, brother. I mean, let's
yeah, but they were in first place, so it didn't matter.
Well, yeah, it did matter. The reason it mattered.
No, it doesn't.
No,
if you're in first place, doesn't matter.
Pay attention, brother. Pay attention.
I am.
The reason that it mattered was because the Mets should have spent that time pulling away. And they should have spent that time putting space in between themselves and the underachieving teams in the National League East. And instead, if you look at the Mets last, I don't even know how many games it is, something like 50 games, they're actually below 500.
Okay.
So that's not a first-place team. That's a team masquerading as a first-place team, but it's not a first-place team. You don't stay in first place by playing sub-500 baseball.
I didn't say they were playing great. I just said they were in first place.
I understand that, but you said the last week. It's been way longer than a week.
Yeah, but they've been in first place, so it doesn't matter.
But all it's been happening for the last couple of months is that as they say, they've been putting wallpaper on the cracks of the Titanic, because you got the Braves, who apparently, unbeknownst to me, played something like 20 games in a row where they alternated wins and losses. So they would win one, lose one, win one, lose one. It would just kept going back and forth like that. Obviously, you're not going to gain any ground on anybody when you play like that. The Phillies have been a horrible team up until the last week when they won 6 in a row, and now they're 6 games over 500, which should have them in a conversation for third or fourth place in any division. Instead, they are now ascending into first place and seem like world beaters in the National League East. So this is something that the Mets could have avoided, but because they've been playing in such a mediocre way, right? It finally caught up to them.
That's true. I agree. It has caught up to them. I mean, it's a bad division. So, I'd rather come in first in a bad division than come in third in a good division. So,
that's that much is obvious. If you look, I'm sorry to cut you off, brother, but that much is obvious. If you look at the National League West, the between the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Padres, one of those teams is going to finish in third. And those are probably the three best teams in the National League. But one of those teams will be a third-place team.
Agree. It's too bad. I mean, you wish there was maybe another way, but you can't do it. Imagine, you had just the two divisions again, and then have the first place there, and then whoever won the rest of it, and it might be a little bit different, but it's tough to juggle it all. I understand why they do it the way they did.
Well, I mean, the good thing about the wild card, and this is for my purposes the only good thing, is that you can have teams or divisions like the National League West, and all of those teams will make the playoffs, and they'll at least have a chance to not only get to the postseason, but to do something in the postseason. So it likely will wind up with the Dodgers and the Padres playing against each other, assuming that the Giants can hold on to first place, which I don't want to count. I don't want to count on anything with the Giants, because everybody thought when the season's, before the season started, that the Giants were a fourth place team, and they've been phenomenal this season. But you keep waiting for the bubble to burst. So I don't want to assume that they're going to finish in first, but let's say they finish in first. That means the Padres and the Dodgers, who pretty much every baseball expert expected to be the two teams in the National League this year, that means one of them will lose the wild card game and won't even have a chance to win the World Series this year.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So that's a crazy thing, but at least both of them will have a shot at the postseason, whereas 30 years ago, at least one of those teams wouldn't even have made the playoffs.
Well, look at the Mets from 85 to 89. I mean, they were the best team in baseball, wins and losses. But there were a couple of years they should have been in, and they weren't. So
unfulfilled promise, bro. But also look at the 73 Mets and look at how bad they were, but they still made the playoffs.
That's right. And then they beat up on the Reds. So
yeah, and that's what the National League East is like right now. I mean, that one of those, whoever wins the National League East is going to be just like the 73 Mets, and they'll make the postseason. They won't deserve it, but they'll make it. And then you see what happens. There are all kinds of stories of teams who have maybe not deserved to be in the postseason, but made it and then got to the World Series. I mean, one of the most recent examples I remember is that Colorado Rockies team that just got destroyed by the Red Sox in the World Series. They won some ridiculous. It was like 22 out of their last 26 or something in September to qualify for the playoffs, and then bulldoze teams. That hot streak continued, but then when they got to the World Series and they got a couple of days off before the World Series, that was when the bubble burst. And
yeah,
it was one of the easiest, most lopsided World Series in baseball history. But that was what happened. They made it. Good for them. So
no, good point.
We'll see where it goes.
Since the Yankees are ascending, let's talk about what's going on with the Yankees first, brother. What's going on with the Yankees?
It's starting to remind me more and more of 2019, brother, because right now, the one overriding factor for the Yankees, besides how well they're playing and how, the record and all of the wins that they're accumulating in the last couple of weeks or post All-Star break, is that so many guys are on the injured list right now.
Right.
And I mean, probably around half the team is on the injured list or the COVID list, which is the same as the injured list at this point. Garrett Cole is out. Jordan Montgomery is out. First of all, the Yankees lost in a span of 24 hours. They lost 3/5 of their starting rotation. Garrett Cole and Jordan Montgomery went on the COVID list. Domingo Germain has shoulder inflammation. So all of a sudden it's like, all right, we don't have any more starters. So,
right.
But yet they still managed to win games. They did a bullpen game the other day where I think it was eight relievers pitched. This kid Luis Heel has come up from the minor leagues and thrown 2 starts, 11 innings, has not allowed a run. He's been phenomenal. Stuff is electric. He's got a mid to high 90s fastball. He has been a godsend, and right. I hope that they just continue to give this kid innings, because he's been outstanding. So let him pitch until he shows that he can't pitch, or until the league catches up to him or whatever. But this kid has been phenomenal. Just exactly what the Yankees needed. Then there's this kid. They brought up another kid, Steven Ridings, who's a Comac kid, brother, Long Island guy.
All right.
Who they said? Who was it yesterday? Was it Flaherty or Jack Curry? Somebody on the Yes Network said that Aaron Boone had not seen this kid pitch at all. So not even in spring training. He was such an afterthought in spring training that he never even got around the major league team during workouts. But what happens? This kid, his first pitch that he threw in the major leagues was 101 mile an hour fastball. So okay. I don't know why this kid hasn't been on a radar, and even more so, I don't know why the Kansas City Royals cut this kid, because they cut him. How do you cut somebody with 101? So, but Steven Ridings has been dominant in 3 outings. Kid's been phenomenal. So, you got Severino close to returning. Luis Severino, who had the Tommy John surgery last year, close to coming back. Corey Kluber close to coming back, but not as close as Severino. Severino could pitch next week. So there's some health returning, but like I said, Garrett Cole COVID, Jordan Montgomery COVID, Gary Sanchez COVID. Anthony Rizzo got a positive test yesterday, so he's out for 10 days. So for whatever reason, and Rizzo was known not to be vaccinated. Now I usually, you know me, brother, I don't defend the non-vaccinated because it's usually a stupid thing. But Rizzo, if you remember, is a cancer survivor. He was diagnosed with cancer. I don't even know how many years ago, but it was when he was a minor leaguer in the Red Sox system. So it goes back obviously many years. But he was one of these people who wanted to see the side effects of the vaccine and maybe get a little more information on the vaccine before he got vaccinated. I can understand that as a cancer survivor because obviously he's got other factors going on that somebody who hasn't had cancer wouldn't have to deal with, and those people who haven't had any other health conditions, I have no sympathy for them.
And we should say, brother, he is a cancer survivor. People might indicate that as a cancer survivor that you might be a cancer survivor, which you're not.
No, I'm talking about Anthony Rizzo. We're talking about Anthony Rizzo. So I know. So I can understand his point of view. It still doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I would hope that at some point he got a doctor. He talked to his doctor and said, "Look, what about this? What should I do?" And maybe his doctor told him. But if he's just making these decisions on his own, then anyway. But the Yankees were one of the first teams to be 85% vaccinated, and right now they still have COVID going through the team. Aaron Boone, the manager, is talking about the road trip to Florida they just took, and as you know, brother, Florida is like the haven for COVID right now because one state has more than 20% of the COVID cases in the country, thanks to the idiot governor down there. So that becomes an issue, and will Major League Baseball address that issue and say, hey, you know what, we got to play some road games and not let teams go to Florida? Because if it's true what Boone says, and let's face it, that's a stretch because who knows if that's really the factor. But if it is Major League Baseball going to say, you know what, 2 weeks, Florida, you're on the road. We're not sending teams to Tampa. We're not sending teams to Miami. If there's no mask mandates and everybody's walking around with COVID down there, then we're not putting our players in there. So, there's a lot of breakthrough cases. Like I said, the Yankees were more than 85% vaccinated. And right now they have the biggest COVID problem in the league.
Right. And speaking of just Florida, I'm just taking this on a tangent here, brother. Think about football. How they're already said they're not going to reschedule games and you'll have to forfeit.
Right.
And the percentage of people will be bigger or people will be bigger. So the percentage will be, in the middle, so to speak. So, your teams in Florida, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, they could be losing games through forfeit with this COVID thing.
Thanks to their governor. Thanks to Governor DeSantis, the moron.
You think about it, it could happen.
It could. So, it very well could. And I hope they put the blame where it belongs because that's exactly where it's going to go, or that's exactly where I'm going to put it anyway. But yeah, that's a good point, brother. Very sagacious. I'm impressed by that.
Thank you.
But so right now, and we talked about this a week or so, maybe a week or two ago, that the Yankees had this stretch of games coming up, and that there were a lot of winnable games there, and that they needed to go, somewhere in the neighborhood of 8-2, 7-3 in this stretch, and the stretch, the stretch includes a series against the Royals that starts tonight, but all they've been doing is winning games, and I'm just counting it up right now. The Yankees are 8-2 in their last 10.
Okay.
So, and that's what I said. They needed to go 8-2, 7-3. I just counted it up. So now you got 3 against the Royals, and let's face it, those are obviously winnable games on the road, which doesn't help. But when you're playing against the Kansas City Royals, 3 games, those should be 3 wins. And just so everybody knows, Jameson Taillon goes tonight, who was the American League Pitcher of the Month, because he's been phenomenal recently. But right. he's one of the few starters the Yankees have left. Him and Nestor Cortez and his mustache.
Well, that's good.
So but that's where the Yankees are right now. They have to get through one more round of the rotation before they'll get Cole and Montgomery back. And again, I'm not 100% sure when Severino's finally going to make a start. And like I said, Kluber's still a couple weeks away. But the Yankees are piecing it together right now. They've mastered the comeback victory in recent weeks. And I'll tell you what, I've been very impressed with how they've played recently. They took 3 out of 4 from Seattle, which Seattle's not great, but they're good. They're a better team than they have been. They swept the Marlins, where the Marlins came back a couple days later and did some real damage against the Mets. So things are going well. I mean, the next issue that the Yankees will have is the Chicago White Sox, and that's one of those games is going to be the game at the Field of Dreams in Iowa.
That's right. So did you see the picture of Aaron Judge?
I believe that's the Thursday, brother.
Did you see a picture of Aaron Judge in his old?
I know, he looked good, didn't he?
Old jersey.
I don't know.
I don't know. I this is such a weird thing. It's 8,000 fans. It's counted as a White Sox home game.
Yes, it is.
I know it's the Field of Dreams. It's first time professional baseball played in
Iowa,
in the state of Iowa, I believe. And
yes,
I don't know. I mean, why not play at a high school field next?
Well, I mean, because this is an iconic American thing, brother. And granted, I know it hasn't been around for 100 years or anything, but the movie has made this place kind of a spiritual baseball ground. There was actually a special on yesterday. Fox aired something, obviously, to promo the game and to hype it up a little bit. But I happened to catch the last 20 minutes of it. And the guy who played, I can't even remember his name now, but the guy who played Ray Kinsella, or the dad, Ray Kinsella, whatever his name was, the catcher one at the end of the movie.
Right.
That was basically his only acting role. Right. I don't want to diminish the guy's career, but he even admits it that he became an actor. He said he wanted to be in a movie that was something that would help change people's lives. And the casting director, she was a woman who she said hundreds of people came in, famous people, not famous people. And she said as soon as this guy walked in the door, she said her first thought was, oh, my God, I hope he's good because he looks exactly what I want this person to be. And the guy said, even afterwards, he said, look, he goes, I acted for a while longer. He goes, I retired a few years ago. And, the success and the longevity of this movie, basically, yes, I had my moment that I was hoping for when I got into this. And obviously he never really became a star, but he became known for this one movie.
Right.
But that's the impact. That's the impact this film has had in American culture.
And how many people call their fathers right afterwards,
Yeah.
Who hadn't talked to their fathers in a while.
You say that in a skeptical manner, brother. Why?
Well, yeah, we talked to him when Dad was alive. We talked to him, so it wasn't like we hadn't talked to him in 5 years, But also, I'm wondering if Costner's going to show up on Thursday, for the game. I
would assume he would.
Who knows? They seem to be having a reunion with some of the, the smaller role players, like the guy you just mentioned. And there's another guy they had too who's been showing up. And I'm wondering if Costner's going to show up, or Amy Madigan, or
I hope so. I mean, they should.
Timothy Busfield would be good to have.
Yeah, Busfield was on that Fox special too. He was all over that thing. If I was them, I would show up for no other reason than, hey, only 8,000 people are going to be in the building. I'm going. If I can go, I'm going. That's going to be a special night.
Yeah. Well, I agree.
I'll tell you right now, and I have not spoken with him to confirm this, but I guarantee you the guy who's working the hardest to get there is Zach Hampel, friend of the show, Zach Hampel.
Right, we had him on a long time ago.
He's working hard to get. If he hasn't gotten a ticket yet, believe me, he's working hard to get a ticket.
Well, he'd love that baseball.
He loves that stuff. He lives for that stuff.
Well, they said if you hit it into the corn or the wheat or whatever is there.
Cornfield. It's still a cornfield, brother.
Yeah, corn. That the ball might just stay there for a while. They don't. Who's going to pull it out?
I'd go in and get it.
If you hit a home run.
My man Hampel will go in and get it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, there's going to be no. I mean, it's a very strange thing. I mean, personally, I wouldn't mind if Major League Baseball. They're always looking to promote the high schools and stuff. Stay in school and stuff, but show up one game, at a high school. One that has a decent field.
Well, that would be the difficult. I mean, you'd probably have to go to Florida or California to find that level of field, because they would have to build it up. Every field. I saw the Field of Dreams field. They obviously will build it up. And you remember when they went to England a couple of years ago when the Yankees played the Red Sox?
Right. That was hard.
There was a ton of construction they had to do. So that's
sure.
because you need to make it major league ready. And that involves a lot of different things. And a lot of things that you don't see or you don't notice, but there's a lot of construction involved.
I thought the games in England were not very good. I thought it was
that was the stadium itself. That was the stadium itself. The stadium itself turned into a disaster because what they didn't figure on, or what they didn't realize when they built everything, was that there was going to be this enormous jet stream going to the outfield. That's why they had lacrosse scores. And that's why, if you remember correctly, the Red Sox and the Yankees both scored 5 runs in the first inning or something ridiculous like that, and the game turned into what was it? Like 20 to 19, 16 or something like that. It was ridiculous.
A lot of field goals kicked.
And center field was 370 or something. It was a joke.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, but that's part of it. They couldn't move the fences back any farther. So that was what they had to deal with. And that's. I mean, like I said, you could probably find a field in California or Florida that is already of minor league quality for the high. There's a few high schools in the United States where obviously they take baseball very seriously, and maybe some of these private schools that have been donated to by former major leaguers that probably have very nice fields. But I mean, to me, this is kind of a one-off because it is the Field of Dreams field, and I mean, baseball's always looking to do stuff like this, but there's a limit to how much you can do because of all of the stuff that needs to get done before the game is played.
I say bring Charlie Sheen back. Let him pitch.
Well, he's not going to show up for this one.
Not for this one, no. He should bring back the Indians now that they're going to change the name to the Guardians.
The Guardians. By the way, did you hear, brother? I didn't read the story, but I heard that the Guardians might be held up because of a women's roller derby team or something like that.
Yeah, the logo, the G, I think, with the wings on it, I think might be made by someone else. That happens a lot.
Some kind of copyright thing or something.
They don't do a big copyright thing. And they say, oh, we'll just do it because who cares? And then someone cares, I mean,
you know what? If it means a roller derby team gets a check, then good for them.
Yeah, but it's one of those, those weird roller derby things where everyone changes their names,
Yeah, no, that's the one. Gotham Girls.
Yeah, like Gotham Girls. Anyway,
here you go, brother. Wait a minute, before you go, Field of Dreams game. I'm just looking at this. Tickets as low as, we're talking StubHub, as low as $1,079.
Wow.
So, yeah,
That's
if I'm
crazy.
Kevin Costner, I'm going. I'm telling you, hey, yeah, I want to be there. Let's make it happen.
Well, I'm wondering if he has a movie or his TV show, Yellowstone or whatever it was called. Maybe that needs another season push or something.
Can always take a day off.
And it's on Fox. It's on FX or
right. No, it's going to be on Fox.
Related channel.
I'm sure this game will be on Channel 5, brother.
I hope it would. I mean,
no doubt in my mind.
It really should be a Saturday game, but I think a weeknight game is probably even better.
Yeah, it is. It's a Thursday night. Thursday night.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have to build lights if they had made it so it's just a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and the spirit of the thing would have been to make it an afternoon game.
Right. The way baseball should be played in daylight.
Back in the day, that was there was a whole ode to the past, but whatever.
Anyway, you're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. This is from the press box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. This show becomes a podcast later on. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is my brother and award-winning sports writer, Tim Leonard. Let's talk about the Mets, brother. Why are they so bad right now? Is it just? It can't be just because Jake DeGrom isn't doing anything right now. But I mean, there's got to be a better reason. It can't be just. It just can't be because we should have got pitching.
Well, that's a big reason, brother. It is a big reason. Because yes, they should have gotten pitching. And I was one who was very complimentary of the move to get Javi Baez from the Cubs. I still think it was a correct decision, and it was a smart move. Now, that being said, the Mets really did need another starter at the deadline, and they should have pushed to get the Barrios guy who went to Toronto. They should have pushed to get him from the Twins because, yeah, they do. They need pitching. But that being said, they need offense, and the Mets' offense has been bad. I mean, like I said before, they lost 3 out of 4 to the Marlins before they just got swept by the Phillies over the weekend. But the Mets have lost 7 of their last 8, and they in those 8 games they've scored more than 3 runs only once. You're not going to win a lot of games like that. So hitting and timely hitting have been big issues. The mystery of the Mets season, as far as I'm concerned, is what the hell is wrong with Michael Conforto? He's batting 200.
I know he's not going to be signed by the Mets, or maybe not by anyone. I mean,
he'll be signed by somebody, but they'll be looking for a rebound candidate. But this is a guy who's in his free agent year, his walk year, and his numbers are terrible. I mean, I'm just looking at him now. 201 batting average, 7 home runs, and 25 RBIs in 77 games. He was out early in the season, but 77 games, that's almost a half a season. And he's got 7 home runs and 25 RBIs. So, you extrapolate and you're looking at 14 home runs and 50 RBIs in a walk year. That's abysmal.
Yeah, I hate to say it, brother. I loved when he came up, and he's done some interesting things over the years. The Mets are not going to sign him, and unless all of a sudden he wakes up and says, "I want to stay a Met," and I better get my act together because he is not playing well at all. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure I'd play him right now. Let him.
Well, I mean, that was something that had been discussed a few days ago. Was should he stay in the lineup? I tell you what, the Conforto's situation. My opinion is he won't sign a long-term deal after this season because this season has been nothing short of a disaster for him. He's going to sign what is known as a pillow contract, which will allow him. So, and whether or not he signs that with the Mets, I don't know. And in fact, I think he probably won't sign with the Mets because he will look for a team that needs an outfielder, that needs a middle of the order bat, and it won't be a good team. It'll be like a Pittsburgh Pirates or
Kansas City.
Yeah, somebody who won't contend but needs somebody to put up numbers. And he'll probably sign for, I don't know, $10 million or something like that. 1 year.
A year?
1 year.
He's not worth $10 million.
Well, whatever he can get, $8 million, whatever. I mean, somebody will sign the potential, and he will hope that he can have a season like he had in 2019, where he hit 33 home runs and had 92 RBIs and batted 257, which today 257 is an acceptable batting average. So, last year he was outstanding, batted 322, and we all knew that was an aberration. But to be now hitting 201, that's the opposite end of the spectrum as far as aberrations go. I mean, last year was a high aberration. This year is a low aberration. But Michael Conforto he's one of the big problems that the Mets are having right now.
Yeah, I agree totally. If I was signing Michael Conforto, I'd give him $5 million and $5 million in incentives. I mean, that's the only way I'd sign him.
But, again, he's not going to want a long-term contract based on this season, because the numbers will be terrible. And he's going to want a one-year deal where he can get himself sorted and get his numbers back up and reestablish his value. And if he has another bad season like he's having this year, well, you know what? Then his career is really on the brink of being over. Because after that, if you sign him to a five, like you said, $5 million with $5 million in incentives, all right, and he puts up similar numbers to what he's doing this year, well, then next year he's a $2 or $3 million player, and some team is signing him as a fourth outfielder, or a bad team is signing him to be a regular, but nobody's giving him more than $3 or $4 million. Because his numbers won't justify it. You can't justify spending big money on the hope that a guy who 3 years ago had a good year is finally going to have another good year. So this is where we are. Michael Conforto ran. He's 28 years old. This should be the prime of his career right now, and he's just been awful this season.
He has been. He's just been really bad. I mean, I like the guy a lot. I root for him. I want him to do good. He's a local guy. I like him. And he just hasn't snapped into place for him. It's too bad. The Olympics are over, brother. I don't know if you heard, but United States of America, 113 medals, 39 were gold. They led both categories for those.
USA.
And USA. And you know what I was watching? Women's volleyball.
How about that, brother?
They won the gold medal.
I watched that too. It was on late night.
It's funny because one thing I noticed is that like CNBC had a lot of water polo. It seemed like the certain NBC channels, certain ones got, the same thing. So you would say, okay, I watched field hockey, our sister Suzanne was real excited because they showed field hockey. She went to college and played field hockey for a little while, and she still loves field hockey.
Scholarship.
Yeah. Well, so she loves field hockey. I don't understand it, but that's just you and me. She can explain the rules. We can't. But I noticed that, and also the women's basketball won gold.
Yeah,
and in the old days, they would have said, just like they did when the women won the World Cup and then the gold medal, this is going to help professional, women's basketball in the States.
Yeah,
the league's been around for 20 years, so it's
25, bro. 25.
25. It's not going.
25th anniversary this year.
Yeah, the WNBA is not going away, even though it doesn't get the ratings or the fans that they used to. But it has established itself enough. But the volleyball was really cool. I would love, brother, and I've never understood why. The closest thing I'd ever think it ever came to be was, why isn't there a professional volleyball league?
Volleyball, it's a niche sport, brother.
I know so many people. I know so many people play it. The closest I remember a possible league was, and maybe there even was a league, Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, there was a league back then.
Yeah, I think he was part of it. I don't know if he played or if he coached.
He played some. I think he coached some. Wilt Chamberlain was a big volleyball guy. He enjoyed the sport. He enjoyed the sport. He was a champion for the sport. But it's a niche sport. Middle America doesn't really care that much about volleyball because
I know
for them, volleyball is a sport played on the beach. And where are the beaches in Middle America?
No, I agree with that, but like there's indoor soccer and there's indoor football and there's lacrosse and there's indoor lacrosse. Why not volleyball?
Well, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Start a league.
I know, but I'm
start
just
a league.
surprised.
It's not hard to start a league these days.
That's true, yeah, and plus, everyone needs product for the streaming. So, one thing that I was watching the men, the difference is the men it's like they're shooting out of a cannon, while the women don't hit it as hard, obviously, but it plays better. I think it's
that's like women's basketball as well. It's a more fundamental game.
Yeah, and I think women's soccer. I like watching women's soccer because of that.
Oh, don't get me started, brother. Let me tell you my takes from the Olympics. All right. Okay. First of all, Allison Felix. Congratulations to her on winning the most medals of any American at the Olympics. She got number 11. The United States women destroyed the field in the 4x400 relay. So congratulations to Allison Felix on now 11 career medals. The U.S. women's soccer team, disaster. Absolute disaster. First of all, the coach needs to be fired. They were terrible. They won a bronze medal just based on sheerly on the fact that they have more talent than any team in the world. But they played terribly. Their tactics were god awful. For whatever reason, this coach had them playing defensively. You don't take the most potent offense in the world and make them play defensively. The fact that we tied 0-0 with Canada was embarrassing. We had no shots on goal in the first half of that game against Canada, and it was a group game. And then Canada, yes, they went on to win the gold medal. Canada is not the best team in the world. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the Canadians. I love the Canadians. They're phenomenal people. You do not have the best soccer team, the women's soccer team in the world. So that was just horrible. And the team itself needs refreshing. If I'm U.S. Soccer, I'm starting with the coach. He's getting a call when he gets back from Japan. Come to the office. You're being fired. Women's basketball, like you said, congratulations to Sue Bird. She's a Syosset girl, brother. 5 gold medals for Sue Bird now. 5 gold medals for Diana Taurasi. 2 of the most outstanding Olympic athletes this country has ever produced. And look at what's on that team right now. Because I have to assume, even though the next Olympics is only 3 years away, that Taurasi and Sue Bird are both done. But you got Brittany Griner, who's like 29 or 30. You got Brianna Stewart, who is already has won so much in her career, and she's still only 26.
Right.
It's just unbelievable. All they need really is to find a new point guard, somebody to run the show, and it's probably going to be Skylar Diggins. But it probably in 3 years will be Paige Buckers or Beckers from UConn, who was Player of the Year this year as a freshman. But this team is dominant. 7 gold medals in a row, and they just dominate their sport like no other team has. And finally, the men's basketball team. What else can you say about Kevin Durant that hasn't been said already? The guy delivers in big games, and
he loves it.
I'm not going to say in every big game, because obviously in Game 7 against the Bucks, they needed a monster effort, and he wasn't able to give it to them. And I'm not going to fault him completely on that, because obviously there were other injuries, and one person can't do it alone on a basketball court. But Kevin Durant, again, just phenomenal. The guy is clearly the best player in the world, and after winning his 3rd gold medal and becoming the all-time scorer for USA Basketball, it has agreed to a 4-year extension with the Nets that will pay him $198 million.
Well, they couldn't go 200?
Apparently they can't. It's all a percentage thing, so it adds up to whatever it adds up to. It's like Luka Doncic is signing an extension with the Mavericks. And because the NBA salary cap went up something like $3 or $4 million, that added another I think it was like $4 million or something to Doncic's contract, because it's all just like clauses and whatnot, and it's like, all right, you can get this percentage, and you don't even need lawyers to draw up these contracts. They basically write themselves. But that was, I was very impressed with the men's team after a very poor start, losing some exhibition games. They showed that they are, and we are, the best team in the world.
Yeah, I didn't even watch any games because it's like it's almost too expected that they're going to win. So I
wasn't necessarily expecting wins. I was certainly rooting for wins, and I was happy when they did win. But the games were not necessarily anticlimactic. So that part of it. I mean, again, like I said, I was hopeful, but I wasn't expecting necessarily especially after the loss to France before the Olympics started. My last one, brother, Ryan Krauser, not a name that everybody knows.
Nope.
But this guy set an Olympic record, actually broke the Olympic record 3 times during the shot put competition.
Wow.
This guy was letting it go. And we you and me, brother, we like the big fat guys. But
Al Order, remember him? He was doing it until he was 48. So
yeah, but this guy was tearing it up, Krauser. And the Americans finished 1-2 in the competition. But he putted the shot, as they say, 74 feet 11 inches, which is ridiculous.
Right.
But that was one of 3, and Joe Kovacs finished second in that competition. So good to see the Americans going 1 and 2. But these guys were, I mean, I couldn't believe the distance they were getting on this thing.
Sure. I mean, it's incredible. You can take that iron ball and throw it or shot put it. One thing I wish NBC would do, one thing about the Olympics that no other event has is people start watching it towards the end. They miss a couple of things and then they get involved. I wish NBC would take this week, which they're not going to do, but maybe down the road, there is an Olympic channel. So maybe you start seeing it there. But it'd be nice if they had recaps for the entire week. It's the middle of the summer. There's no programming on except for, reality programming. Be nice if they had from 8 to 11, whether it's on NBC or other NBC affiliated channels. And, just say, okay, here's the highlights from the soccer. Here's the highlights from the volleyball. And just do that. It doesn't have to be the United States to be Olympic highlights, but, we also are Americans and we tend to watch Americans. So, right. But it'd be nice if NBC did something like that. They pay so much billions of dollars for programming. You would think that this week, even though it's old programming, but not everyone saw it.
Yeah, I mean, they were doing it during the evenings because I saw Tirico doing it. Mike Tirico.
NBC tends to, the main network tends to package things for that because that's the prime time, and then like on CNBC or NBCSN or the Olympic Channel or USA, like they did something on Saturday where I'm watching the volleyball and they go, "We're going to take a break now so our affiliates can do the news." Go to USA Network and watch it. So what did I do? I go right to the USA and watch the end of it. And then after a half hour, I went back to NBC, even though it was the same call. But that's, what I did. So, but I wish they would because there's so many things that, when you're showing things on 5 channels and then streaming the rest of it, because they stream so much, it would be nice to have a couple of days just to observe some of this stuff because it would be kind of cool. Now, maybe I don't know if the streaming stuff's still available. I do not know that on Peacock because that, as much as the ratings weren't as what they expected, from what I've heard and read, NBC is happy because a lot of people did stream, and that this was one of the first times that Peacock was showing the Olympics, so they want to see what happens with that. I personally don't want to stream it, but some people do, and I'm not a streamer. So even though we do this fine radio show, brother, And this is on demand afterwards if you want to consider it streaming, which it is. But
I think it's on demand all the time, brother. But that's it is. It's
but
a different demand.
Yes, it is. So that's what I would have done if I was NBC. But last time I looked, I don't work for them, and they didn't ask me. So.
Well, let me just correct myself, brother. I'm getting a text message from Buscema here, who's pointing out that Kevin Durant did have a monster game in Game 7, and I will correct myself for bad wording, because Durant obviously did have a monster game in Game 7. He had 48 points, 9 rebounds, played 53 minutes, but he missed the shot that the Nets needed in overtime.
Right.
He made the tying basket, but he wasn't able to get it done in overtime, and the Nets weren't able to win the game. That's what I meant by didn't have but obviously his stats were fantastic in that game. But once again, as I said before, no help. So one person can't do it by himself.
Yeah, so
like
that's
this radio show, brother. Just like this radio show, one person can't do it by themselves.
Well, I can't do it without you, my brother. I think you can probably do it without me, though.
Well, maybe, but it's more fun to do it with you, bro.
By the way, Steve Mandrasina, host of Everything and Anything on Fridays, 6 to 8 p.m., and a longtime friend of both me and Steve, he wants to hang out with us and do the show, Tim, when we finally get back to the station. And I said, in. Sure. I said, in. Sure.
When? Like maybe next week or something.
I don't know when we're coming back to the station. Yeah, we're not sure yet, brother. But hopefully, Steve will be able to hang out with us. And
can I call him Salty Steve?
You can call him anything you want.
Inside joke, people. It's
an inside joke. Yeah, Salty Steve. So anyway, brother, one thing I also saw this weekend was the NFL Hall of Fame ceremonies.
How about that?
First of all, Peyton Manning. I did not see him looking at notes. He could not have memorized that whole thing unless he has like that memory where you memorize a script and it's there.
Well, I mean, he might have just had a couple of points on cards or something.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, his speech was awesome.
His speech was everything you want in a speech for a guy who's played for 2 teams, won the Super Bowl with both. He mentioned his brothers. He mentioned his mom, and he said that she could break down a pass play better than anyone. It was a very cool speech. He talked about how the speech was supposed to be 6 minutes because everyone tended to go longer, and this year they're trying to make it, 6 minutes because it's on TV.
6 minutes.
I say screw it, screw it. Let them talk. Let Peyton talk for 20 minutes if he wants to talk about being on TV or Saturday Night Live or whatever. Let them talk. This is their only time. This is not the Oscars. You should let them talk. And he was fantastic. Yeah, and I don't know if you know what they're doing in the fall, brother. Peyton and Eli are going to be. There's going to be an alternate feed for ESPN on ESPN for Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that's the one I'm watching. I'm not watching. I'm not watching the regular game feed.
Yeah, so it's like that's going to be fun to watch. That's like you and me doing a game, and if they bring in Cooper's doing some game show with Peyton right now, and it's a college game or a college quiz game or something. But it's really good. They're both very good. Eli's kind of the quiet one of the family.
Yes, very much so.
I guess you have 2 loud brothers.
He's more the deadpan sense of humor guy.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun to watch. This Peyton was fantastic. Jimmy Johnson gave a nice speech. Thanked Jerry Jones after all those years, but they have made up from what I saw a clip of them together with all the Fox guys. And
I hope they made up by now. I mean, let's face it; they're both old men by this point. I mean, it's time to make up and time to bury the past.
Yeah, but you know what? Jerry was happy to be a cowboy, and Jerry's huge ego, whether it was before or after his facelift, I don't remember. But Jerry said, "Well, I can bring in someone else, and we can do it," and they did. But it wasn't. I thought it was a shot to Jimmy Johnson. I'm sorry. I mean, it's. I
he brought in
understand
Barry
why.
Switzer. He brought in Barry Switzer, and
Barry
it was,
Switzer. Yes.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Barry Switzer was an okay coach. I mean, Jimmy Johnson was a better coach. So
right, but he thanked all the guys. He thanked Troy and Michael and Emmett.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. You'd be amazed how much smarter a coach gets when you put Troy Aikman, Emmett Smith, and Michael Irvin on your offense. Holy cow, he's a good coach.
Yeah, well, he mentioned that. He talked about how, I had great players.
Yeah, that's how you become a great coach. You get great players.
Right.
You know who's a great coach right now, who I can say is a great coach? Joe Judge is a great coach. He's going to be an even better coach when he gets some real players.
Well, yeah, sure.
The Hall of Fame was a good day. It was a good some like you said, some very good speeches. Peyton Manning, a lot of good lines. Had a few zingers. He got one in on Ray Lewis. Finally getting a hit back on Ray Lewis because he made a joke about Ray Lewis just finished his Hall of Fame speech from 2018 because it went on. It was a 38-minute speech. It was a record long speech for the NFL. People remember it because it went on and on and on and on.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, I mean, whatever, 6 minutes is as soon as you said 6 minutes, I thought of Phil Rizzuto's baseball Hall of Fame speech.
Right. How long was that?
Went on for way longer than 6 minutes.
Right.
I think one of the best speeches of all time. It was hysterical.
Right. And Peyton also mentioned he mentioned that that Tom Brady, who was in the audience, would be available like in 2035 or something. To give
2035. Because and you had to think about that one to see how funny it was, because obviously that would mean that Tom Brady isn't retiring until 2030.
Yeah, and then he might be the
comedy.
He might do the George Blanda thing if he only started to kick field goals. He could do the George Blanda thing. So, why not? I mean, if you're going to stay around, George Blanda did. I remember watching one of George Blanda's.
Peyton Manning's not going to kick field goals, bro.
No, I'm not talking Peyton. I'm talking about Brady.
Either one of them. Tom Brady's not going to kick field goals either.
I remember one of the last games Blanda played. He was on the field. They needed a quarterback for some reason. He's on the field, and it's like, oh my God, is he going to be able to do it? And he, threw a couple of passes. He wasn't bad for being old, 49 or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get to soccer, brother. We have what's happening with Barcelona, and the Premier League starts up again, doesn't it? Premier League starts up this coming weekend, brother. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I am especially looking forward to the current mess with Harry Kane being worked out at Tottenham. There's so much going on and so much craziness right now. But let's start with what I thought was just this was repugnant. Lionel Messi, who many acknowledge as being the greatest player ever. And while I think that's a stretch, because I'm always going to go with Pele in that conversation, Messi clearly is one of the three best players of all time. He had a farewell press conference at Barcelona. He's leaving Barcelona. This is the club. He's been with Barcelona for more than 20 years. He started with Barcelona when he was 13. He is now, I believe, 34. He made last year. He made 800,000. I think it's pounds per week. I think that's how we're measuring it. 800,000 a week. That's $40+ million in a season. All right. Hey, good for him if he can get it. But yesterday he sits there in front of a microphone crying because, I'm leaving Barcelona because Barcelona can't afford to pay me. Well, you know what? Take less money. If you so want to stay and you want to remain with this team that you've been part of for more than 2 decades, take a pay cut. Barcelona right now is having financial issues, and that's why they wanted that Super. Remember, we talked about the Super League a couple months ago. Right, I remember that. Yeah, they were one of the big proponents of that because they needed money desperately, and that was the way for them to do it. And the impact of the Super League being defeated is now that Messi is leaving.
But while Messi was sitting there in front of the microphone crying, "Oh, man, I'm so sad to leave Barcelona," his agents were negotiating a deal with Paris Saint-Germain. So today he'll probably sign a 2-year deal with them. And here we go again. So I don't understand. Like the tears, don't sit there and cry tears in front of a microphone and cameras when your agents are literally negotiating your next deal.
Now, Timmy, I assume he gets a big, like, he has a shoe contract and other. Of course.
Messi is hundreds of millions.
Okay. The reason I say that is, you look at a guy like, Derek Jeter.
Right.
He signs a $190 million contract, and then they get A-Rod later.
Right.
And he easily could have said, "Hey, man, I'm the face of this team. I want more money." And he never did. Not that he was poor.
Jeter lived up to his contract because that's what you do. You sign a contract, you lived up to it. Right. But if you remember correctly, when that contract ended, Jeter tried to put the Yankees over a barrel. He asked for an absurd amount for a guy who at that point was like 37 or 38 years old. He wanted like 4 years and $100 million after that.
Right, and he got, insane. 2 years and 52 or something? Or?
It was, I think it was 3 for somewhere close to 60.
Yeah, but he deserved that.
I'm not saying he didn't, but I mean, let's not paint him out to be a complete saint here. I mean, he did try to extort some money, in the age 40 years of his career, and he refused to move off a shortstop and do anything that would have been required to say, all right, you know what, we have to recognize that you're not the guy you once were.
Right. Okay. Well. Okay.
But Messi is. I was disgusted by the whole thing. I really was, because now you have Paris Saint-Germain, who have arguably the 3 best players in the world. They have Messi, they have Neymar, and they have Mbappe. If they don't win everything this year, then this year is a complete failure for them. They have the three of the top attacking players in the world. So right. I don't know how. I don't even know how they're going to lose a game. That's how loaded this team is. But again, financial fair play is a joke, and how can they fit that contract onto their books this late in the transfer window? The whole thing is just it's pretend. But again, just to go back to Harry Kane real quick before we got to go, Manchester City has been negotiating or trying to negotiate. They submitted a disgustingly low offer. Tottenham values Harry Kane at £150 million. Manchester City's only bid thus far has been $100 million. And Manchester City is griping in the media about, Tottenham won't negotiate. Well, hey, dude, the number is $150 million. If you're not going to come close to it, why are they going to negotiate? What's the point? If you're serious about acquiring the player, match the number.
Well, you sure?
Don't sit there and say, well, we'll give you 2/3 of what you want, and be happy with that. Like Tottenham's supposed to be thrilled that Manchester City is trying to poach their player, who still has 3 years left on his contract, by the way, and offer them an insultingly low number for it. It's absurd what money is doing to the game. It really is. I'm so
well. That's just something we all know, brother. If I'm Harry Kane, you stay around. I mean, there's something to be said of being on the same team your entire career. You look at Jeter, you look at Cal Ripken, guys like that. They were the same team the entire time, and there's something to be said for it. And I think
something to be said for being a club legend, brother.
That's true. And I mean, look what happened when Peyton Manning got sort of. I mean, I don't know if he was pushed from the Colts. I mean, they had a press conference with the owner with Israel.
Well, I mean, his whole thing, that was a neck injury, and they wanted to move on because Andrew Luck was available in the draft.
Right, so, right.
It was just a series of events that happened, and that was why he left. It was a timing thing as much as
right. Anyway, brother, that just about does it for another edition of From the Press Box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. It becomes a podcast later on all available podcasting services. Coming up next at 10 o'clock, Big Ed Newlands with the Good Gold Show. And we thank Sean Novat for keeping this on the air, and Kim and Michael also. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Take care, and bye-bye.